Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Hey, Renee. Good morning. Good to see you. Good to see you, Robin and Gary. Also, good to see you, Frederick. Tim. Good to see you. Brian. Hello, hello. Melanie. Good morning. How is everybody doing? Bonnie. Good to see you. Diana. Good morning. Good morning. Everybody got notifications today, I see. So thank you for being here. Let me quickly read just a little bit out of First Timothy, and then we'll get started. First Timothy, verse 2. Therefore, I exhort, first of all, that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings, and for all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. For there is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself a ransom for all to be testified in due time, for which I was appointed a preacher and an apostle. I am speaking the truth in Christ and not lying, a teacher of the Gentiles in faith and truth. Amen. Amen. All right. So, way to get it started. I guess just a reminder to all of us that we should pray for all those, even those that we don't like or don't think are worthy, because Christ died for all. And there's always a possibility that someone will come to Christ, and that we should pray that they do, even if we don't like them, or think that they're, again, not worthy. Maybe they're terrorists or somebody like that you just don't want to pray for. But we are called to pray for even those people, because each one of them could potentially be a child of God, and God loves them just the same. Hey, Bruce, good morning. All right. I want to start out with giving you some breaking news. The U.S. has added 559,000 jobs, which is lower than expected. I think they had expected about 665,000 to be added in May. Unemployment now is at 5.8%. But, as always, remember under Obama, they kind of really fudged those numbers and were really good at doing that. And this guy brings this out. Let me bring it up for you. Basically, Rich, the People's Pundit, says we're now back to the unemployment rate falling due to methodological gimmicks, as we saw under Barack Obama, not because of a tight labor market as we saw under Donald Trump. Wage growth sucks. This is very disappointing jobs report, especially for the month of May. Donald Trump, we saw roughly 2 consecutive years of back-to-back wage growth that met or exceeded 3%, the highest since before the Great Recession. Now we're back to abysmal wage growth that doesn't even come close to keeping pace with inflation. So there you go. We'll hear a lot of that about how wonderful things are when they aren't really at all. But this is the same thing that we got under Obama. So not surprising. Now, I want to give you something. I don't know if you have heard this. This is on critical race theory. And believe it or not, this is really good. I know that typically they don't go hand in hand, but I want to show you this. I always like to have good news. I try to look and find the good news that I can give to you. And this is really a good thing to watch. It's a couple minutes long. So if you will, please go ahead and give this a watch. And again, you may have already seen it.
Daddy teaches you can be anything in this world that you want to be, right? Don't Daddy teach you that?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're black or white or any color.
Doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, yellow, right?
Black.
And how we treat people is based on who they are and not what color they are.
And if they're nice and smart.
See, this is how children think right here. Critical race theory wants to end that. Not with my children. It's not gonna happen. My baby's gonna know that no matter what she wants to be in life, all she has to do is work hard, and she can become that.
Work hard, even though you don't know anyone. You can make friends.
Yeah, you can make friends, no matter what color they are. So we need to stop CRT. Period. Point blank. Children do not see skin color, man. They love everybody. If they're good people, they love them.
We pray for people that are hurt.
I love that. I think that this was the cutest thing. We need more dads like this guy to stand up and teach their children not to hate based upon race, color, creed, whatever. That you should look at the character of a person. You should love everybody. You should treat them well, and the world would be a better place. I mean, it really would be. But the goal is to separate people, and that's what they've already done. Very cute, Diana said. Yeah, it was very sweet. The little girl is so cute. Good morning, Ewitty. And if we had a world like that, if we could stop separating people, but unfortunately, the people on the with the agenda are going to try to separate the races. They've done that since the beginning of time. They know if they can separate the races, then they will remain in control. And they always bring about dissension and chaos because that's what keeps people turning to them and crying out and saying, "How just stop this?" And they're always the ones with the answer. They create the problem, and of course, they have the answer. Brian C said, "Great video message." Absolutely, that's God's principles right there. Exactly, Judy. Stir up hate and racism when there isn't any. Exactly, Tim, because it keeps them in power. And they have done this again, forever. This is a way to keep us divided, try to make people hate each other when it just simply isn't there. People left on their own, it isn't there. Now that doesn't mean 100% because they're all, people are inherently evil, if they're not following God's principles. And so you're going to have some people that are always going to hate people regardless. And more times than not, that says more about them than it does about the people that they claim to not like. It's either, being afraid, being uneducated about something. That doesn't mean being dumb. It just means being uneducated about a particular thing, or being brainwashed by somebody else generations before, telling you that's the way it should be because they were brainwashed. Hey, Monique. Good morning, Susan. What a fantastic message and amazing values and principles. His father is teaching his son. It's his daughter, Monique. That was a little girl, I believe. All right. But yes, a very, very good message. Okay. Now, let's get into the news that, makes up most of what's going on in our world today, unfortunately. I wish it didn't, but here it is. So Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are going to launch a game-changing nuclear power plant in Wyoming. So I'm going to go to Wyoming, where it's kind of sparse land, right? Not a lot of people. They're going to build this power plant. And it's funny, it's a nuclear power plant. It's funny, that's where Kanye West went out and bought all of this land. And now they're going there to build a power plant in Wyoming. It's a coal-fired plant, which is odd because the left doesn't usually like coal. So it's kind of odd. With the project of a joint initiative between Bill Gates and Warren Buffett's own PacifiCorp. The project features 345 megawatt sodium-cooled fast reactor with a molten salt-based energy storage system, which would produce enough power for roughly 250,000 homes, and goes on and on about what good things that they're going to do. I wish I could be excited about it and say how wonderful it's going to be, but anything that Bill Gates touches turns out to be bad typically. And I don't like the fact that Bill Gates is going around and buying up a lot of the farmland. Hey, Twin Crier, all over I don't know about the world, but all over the United States. And here's one more, piece of land that he and somebody else are going to own. And after they kill off a few million, there you go, Bruce. And so, I guess they're planning for the future and how things are going to be. So that came up. Now, also today is supposed to be a big day for Mike Lindell. He is going to be Breaking news, he will be filing a lawsuit against Dominion and Smartmatic tomorrow. He needs our help and our support, and that's what he was saying. And as you know, if you watched, hey, James, good morning. Never sell your land, turn it over to the next generation. Yeah, well, won't be anything left of that. I guess Bill will be turning it over to his next generation. And oh, by the way, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, and this is what I understand. So this is not my opinion, but what I've heard. So it doesn't mean, though, that it's true. But from my understanding, Bill does not give a badge to his own children. Let's say he wants your children to have a badge, but he doesn't give a badge to his own children. Does that shock you? It shouldn't. So anyway, so as I don't know if you saw Mike Lindell or Frank's speech yesterday, but he was talking about that he has proof, he says, that China interfered with our elections. We were talking a little bit about this yesterday, but he showed a film on that and how that all happened. So we will see what happens with it. I honestly don't know if he's going to get the outcome that he's hoping that he will get. But, I hope he does. I want the truth, whatever the truth is. I want it to come out and want it to be known. All right. Now, also, this was from 17 hours ago. The Faux administration is awarding Hamas with U.S. taxpayer dollars. Senator Haggerty tells me, just back from Israel trip with Senator Cruz, Haggerty says Israeli leaders are worried that the Faux administration diplomacy with Iran is eroding historic Mideast peace deals. So, how great we're going to give Hamas money. Wonderful, wonderful. Being sarcastic. Bruce said, "I agree, Susan." Yeah. So anyway, you can see that the administration turning their, have we ever had an administration that was so anti-Israel? I mean, I guess you could say the Obama administration was probably one of the most anti-Israel administrations. This Faux administration, with someone else at the helm, possibly, is probably one of the. It's either the first or the second most anti-Israel administrations that I've seen in a long time. So I don't know what you think about that, if you agree with that or not, but it's not looking good. We're giving money to Hamas. We're seemingly trying to go back into the agreement with Iran, or at least that's what's being said. And, here we are. Anyway, here it is, just in account of the Informed Consent Action Network. I can decide. This was yesterday, reportedly locked out by Twitter after they announced to publish more emails from Dr. FauxChaChing obtained via the FOIA request, citing the virus misinformation policy. Good morning, Susan and everyone. Hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you, Kathy. Robin said, I think they are even worse than enemies of Israel. And it's pretty unbelievable. Now, I want to tell you a little bit. I will give you the place where you can go to see the information that I can published. I'm going to talk about some things there. I'm not going to go there because I will probably get censored as well. Tim said, I think Lindell is an honest man. His faith demands it. Paying him as a kook at your own risk. Yeah. Tim, I think that if you have a conviction and you're convicted in your heart to do this, and you feel that you have the information, he didn't just go ask, the guy on the street, what do you think about this? Supposedly he's hired experts to look at this and tell him that there's something wrong. So he's doing everything that he should do. The left, of course, is crucifying him, if I could say that so boldly, and talking about what a kooky is, and oh, this is what happens with the drug use. Now, here are these people that you're never supposed to make fun of anybody who is downtrodden, who has a drug problem, who's done anything, right? That is that may not be, what people are supposed to do, right? And now they're making fun of him. Oh, this shows you what happens when you've used meth too long. Whoa, where's the kind-heartedness? Where's your love for humankind here? Robin said, I like Mike Lindell. He's trying to get the truth out. I pray for him. Yes, absolutely. And again, he may come out. None of this may do anything, but he has to do what he feels he has to do. He answers to God. He doesn't answer to man. And he's doing what he feels is right. Hey, Sissy, good Friday morning, everyone. Good to see you. So I do wish him well on that. And I want the truth. Again, I don't care what the truth is. Just get it out there and we'll deal with it. But don't try to hide the truth, which has been done for the last 15 months on a certain particular topic. We need the truth out there and then we'll make our own decisions. Okay, now, here's some of the information that you can find in that link I just gave you to their website. Listen to this. On February the 21st, 2020, the good doctor asked the deputy director at the same place where he's the head of to please handle an email received by a group of doctors and scientists, including a virologist, that opined that, quote, we think there is a possibility that the virus was released from a lab in a certain location. And I think you know where I'm talking about. That person turns out to be I don't know if I'll just call him an expert from the Scripps, from Scripps in La Jolla. I mean, this is a guy, again, who is not an idiot. I'm here, but not here, Jesse said. They are squealing like pigs, and that's what the enemy does when the truth is exposed, Monique said. Yes. All right. Now, February 23rd, the doctor says, quote, transmission is definitely by respiratory droplet, and that, quote, children have very low rate of infection. That was February 23rd, 2020. On February 22nd, the good doctor confirms that, quote, the vast majority of people outside of China do not need to wear a mask. A mask is more appropriate for someone who is infected than for people trying to protect against infection. And I know that some people may say, well, yeah, but he didn't have all the information then. And we should wear masks now, and we should double up on masks, and we should wear masks even when we're asleep or in the bathroom by ourselves or in the car by ourselves. Okay, look, logic, science doesn't change when you get more information about a certain, let's say, disease. I'll call it that loosely. That the part about masks protecting against infection and how they're to be used and this and that doesn't change. I don't care how much information you find out. A mask regarding infection, like he said, I mean, just read it again. The vast majority of people outside of China do not need to wear a mask. A mask is more appropriate for someone who is infected than for people trying to protect against infection. Yet, we've been told, oh, protect yourself, protect grandma, protect the guy down the street. You know, you're protecting other people. And he just said, no, it doesn't protect other people. It doesn't do that. And yet, you know, people argue. Elon said it best. We saw the movie already. It was just in Chinese, James said. Yeah, Elon's got an interesting significant other girlfriend, let's just say. Anyway, all right. February 28th, the doctor giving personal update to Mark Zuckerberg. So the doctor gave a personal update to Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook regarding developing a vaccine, including telling Zuckerberg that, quote, we may need help with resources. And if there's delay in the development timeline, he just told Zuckerberg about I will contact you. So now here's the doctor who is bringing in somebody from social media for help. Okay. Melanie said, what on earth for? This isn't science, it's something else. Yes, Judy. All right. And okay. This is on March 1st, 2020. CBS's chief medical correspondent, seeking to please the good doctor, emails the doctor a link to his segment, which he appears to repeat what the doctor has told him, including that face masks, quote, may give some partial protection by catching droplets containing virus, but the virus is so tiny, the virus can go right through it or around it, and describing the origin of the virus as, quote, jumping from animals to people. The doctor responds with, quote, outstanding, apparently pleased that the CBS pushed his narrative, the doctor's narrative, that the virus was a natural jump from bats to human. But now he's calling for, let's release all that information in China about those people that got infected by bats before we found out about this, that, and the other. Okay. CYA time, right? All right, March 16th, the doctor is asked, quote, given the relative safety of all but the elderly and those whose immune systems are compromised, and that they are far fewer than the rest of the population, why not quarantine only them? And he responds by stating, quote, stay tuned. March 17, the next day, it does not appear that the doctor tends to change his tune of pushing everyone, even healthy people with low risk of the virus, to give up all civil liberties and remain prisoners in their home, as reflecting in an email exchange between the doctor and Mark Zuckerberg, in which they share mobile numbers and plan to coordinate efforts to get people to comply with the doctor's messaging, including social distancing from everyone, but the details of their plan are not included in the email exchange. You know, it's funny that here Mark basically canceled out the President Trump at the time, but he was all ready and willing and everything else to help the doctor get that information out that everybody needed so much. Gain of function research, James said. Masks never protect against the virus, just bacteria, Robin said. Absolutely. All right. March 31st, 2020. The doctor receives a summary from his agency of the studies regarding how effective masks are to preventing the virus, and the conclusion is as follows, quote, bottom line, generally, there were not differences in ILI/URI/or flu rates when masks were used. In other words, they don't work, they don't help. Why are we wearing masks? Because Simon says, wear your mask. Okay. April 2nd, 2020. This is just, oh my gosh. The doctor and Bill Gates have phone call where they agreed to a, quote, collaborative and, quote, synergistic approach to the virus on the part of NIH, BARDS, and the BMGF, that's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It is concerning that one private person, this is what the ICANN goes on to say, it's concerning that one private person, Bill Gates, and his organization can exert that much behind-the-scenes influence on decisions that will impact the civil rights of all Americans during the pandemic. So now we have the good doctor take phone calls and I guess help from Bill Gates, Dr. Bill Gates. Oh wait, he's not a doctor. And from Dr. Mark Zuckerberg. Oh wait, Mark's not a doctor either. Okay. And then, of course, talking to celebrities like Morgan Fairchild, like we talked about yesterday. All right. April 8th, 2020. The doctor rejects most requests for calls, except for, I guess, the ones that he really wants to take, but accepts without any questions a request to arrange a call with CEO of Lilly, a major pharmaceutical company. Okay. So now we know, right, who he takes his calls from. The doctor gave our tax dollars to the Chinese communists to develop a virus that they spread all over America. We financed our own destruction, Tim said. Well, unknowingly, Robin said, but they like to play doctor online. Yeah, they are doctor. They play one online. Okay, on April 20th, a Washington Post reporter contacts Katie Miller at the same place where the doctor is head of for copies of an article that the doctor stated are proof that the virus originated by natural means rather than being developed in a lab. Now, remember, he's already been told by the guy at the Scripps Institute that there's something funny here. It looks like this was manufactured. And now he's pushing in April the theory that, oh no, it originated by natural means rather than being developed in a lab. Instead of allowing this Katie woman or anyone on his staff to respond, the doctor, who stated he gets 1,000 to 2,000 emails per day and only has time to respond to a tiny amount, personally responded to the Washington Post. Why? Because, you know, he likes his 15 months of fame. All right, April 27, the doctor appears to dismiss potential life-saving treatment. The doctor receives a report from the chief section of viral pathogenesis at the same place he works, Dr. Paola Lusa, that said, quote, they treated a first group of 5 patients with potent anti-aggregant therapy, and they give the names, I won't say them here, and apparently in all of them, the P02 started to rise within less than 2 hours. They got off the ventilator and went on to full recovery. In response to this incredible news, the doctor merely writes, thanks, Paolo. Apart from pushing remdesivir given by Gilead, a company with which the doctor has deep and long-standing connections, the doctor's responses to Dr. Luce's accords with his otherwise singular focus on developing and pushing a vaccine. May 1, while pushing one narrative regarding ventilators publicly, the doctor writes in a private email that, quote, you are correct in that there is a more recent tendency to use ventilators only as a very last resort, since oxygenation rather than ventilation appears to be key to recovery. Why am I reading all of that to you? Because I don't know if you're like me, but I am pissed off reading that and knowing this in my heart all along, which I know many of you knew, that we have just been, we're like this, right? They're pulling the strings. We're just little puppets down here, putting on our masks, walking, doing whatever we're told to do. Well, all the time, information that he was given, in my opinion, that should have been looked at was disregarded. Information that may have saved lives, in my opinion, reading this, was disregarded. Information on a person that I knew personally who died when they were placed on a ventilator, who now reading this possibly could have been saved, died because information was put aside because why? I don't know, monetary gain, because we like talking to popular people that's popular in your world, and we like talking to the Washington Post and having our 15 minutes of fame. There may be an upstream aspect of this before, and I won't say the name, James said, was Dr. Evil's motive was to hurt Trump or his fear to be discovered for his complicity. Ewity said, God bless you all. Have a good weekend. Love you all. Thank you, Judy. It's a big club and we ain't in it, Carlin. That's right. We're not in it. And it may, you know, I know that according to reports, the White House is trying to, you know, figure out how to exit Dr. FauxChaChing out of the way. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to ride off into the sunset. Like I said yesterday, they're just going to say, oh, we want to thank him so much for all the work that he's done. And, you know, have a nice life. God love you. Bye-bye. Meantime, I want it, you know, as the Republicans are saying, and it won't go anywhere because the Republicans are saying it. Hey, Ken, have a good weekend too. That this should be investigated. You know, there's so many things that we say need to be investigated that are never investigated. Well, there are so many people that died. Hey, Clara, good to see you. So many people that died because of actions taken possibly or not taken that should have been taken. And so, listen, if this thing turns out that this was made in a lab, what is it that's being put in a badge? What's in the badge? What are you putting into your body that's in the badge? If this was a biomedical thing and manufactured, What is it that they gave you to put into yourself? Does that not concern you? And I know a lot of people will never hear this information. They'll never know. And by the way, we're at the halfway point. If you would share this, I would really appreciate it. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. Chezzy, you'll want to hear the replay. James said he will retire to his 4 houses. Yeah, absolutely. Susan, absolutely. They have blood on their hands. And if they're not held accountable by our laws, they will be held accountable by the wrath of God for their evil, Monique said. I mean, you know, it's just, the more you hear it, the more angry you get. They all ride off into the sunset. It's so wrong, Sissy said. Yeah, it is so wrong. All of those people that, thank you, Diana, for sharing, all those people who lost loved ones because these people were playing us for fools and gambling with our lives. And I when you gamble, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. I can't even say, I say it's an intentional gambling. Because if you're told information and you're going to gamble with that, you know that the outcome's not going to be good. It's not going to be positive, no matter how you look at it. So they gambled with our lives and just didn't care. That's the way I see it. That's my opinion. So I don't think he should go anywhere except before a court of law. You're my pocket special. Okay, thank you. All right, now let's move on to another subject. Here is disclosed TV said Klaus Schwab, that's the guy from the World Economic Forum, depicts Jack Posobiec as being part of a foreign propaganda network and calls for more AI-powered Chinese-like online censorship. Does that tell you a little bit about the World Economic Forum, perhaps that you didn't know? Vengeance is mine, says the Lord, Robin said. Yeah. So there's a picture of Jack, and there's a picture of other people who've been suspended, or other people, I guess, that he apparently doesn't like. And if I were Jack Posobiec, I would have some issues with the World Economic Forum putting my face out there as someone who is spreads disinformation online. You know, are they willing to prove that? Are they willing to be sued by a defamation lawsuit? I don't know if Jack is going to do that, but you know, maybe he should look into it. Okay, now I want you to watch this. You know, the people who are in power, they always tell you what they're going to do ahead of time. They can't help themselves. They want you to know. And I believe, and I think many, I don't know about many, I won't say many, but I think some people agree with me that they've already planned out the next quote unquote pandemic. And I think it has to do with cyber attacks. Now, I want you to watch this short video, and this is from the World Economic Forum. I know it's going to sound like I've been under a rock, but anybody know what happened to Patriot Soapbox? No, I don't know. I never watched them in the first place, so maybe they got kicked off of YouTube. All right. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to start this. I know it's a little bit small, but I think you can hear it and see what they have to say.
The COVID-19 pandemic has shaken our economies and societies to the core and shown us how vulnerable we are to biological threats. In the digital world, similar risks are being overlooked right now. A cyber attack with COVID-like characteristics would spread faster and further than any biological virus. Its reproductive rate would be around 10 times greater than what we've experienced with the coronavirus. To give you an idea, one of the fastest worms in history, the 2003 Slammer sapphire worm, doubled in size approximately every 8.5 seconds, infecting over 75,000 devices in 10 minutes and almost 11 million devices in 24 hours. Fortunately, at least until now, cyber attacks have not impacted our health the way pandemics have, but the economic damages, and therefore the impact they have had on our daily lives, have been equal and sometimes even greater. You see, the only way to stop the exponential propagation of a COVID-like cyber threat is to fully disconnect the millions of vulnerable devices from one another and from the internet. All of this in a matter of days. A single day without the internet would cost our economies more than $50 billion US, and that's before considering the economic and societal damages should these devices link to essential services such as transport or health. As the digital realm increasingly merges with our physical world, the ripple effects of cyber attacks on our safety just keep on expanding at a faster pace than what we're preparing for. COVID-19 was known as an anticipated risk. So is the digital equivalent. Let's be better prepared for that one. The time is now.
So isn't that sweet? I mean, seriously, let's finish off the rest of the economy and get to the Great Reset, right? Why don't we do that by bringing on a virus-like pandemic, but a cyber? And you saw some of the examples there. Wow, if we close this down and we close that down and we don't have the reach to each other, what's going to happen? How horrible is it going to be if on top of a pandemic, we can't get news out to you about what to do, how to stay safe, where to go, where to get food, how to make things go? I mean, on and on and on. Chessie said, I told you, Susan, I expect an internet shutdown. Diana said, wow, they are trying to cover up inflation and the dollar is losing its value. Yeah. This article goes on to say, the World Economic Forum again warning the world the next pandemic would be a cyber attack. It is very interesting and not a coincidence. The cyber attacks are directed at the very things that Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, and George Soros have been pushing, which is ending fossil fuels and ending meat production. And we've heard about over the last few days how JBS, that cattle, ranch and all over the globe was attacked, and now all of a sudden they've decided to kind of go into more plant-based stuff, right? So everything, and they said it right there, everything that these elitists, these globalists wanted taken care of is exactly what's being attacked right now. Tim said cyber attacks have already started. Oh, absolutely. The Colonial Pipeline. It's already started. It's only going to get worse. And again, it's a way to go, wow, we need a one world global economy and one world everything, but it's more conditioning, right? Here's what they're trying to do with these cyber attacks. They're attacking the meat packing plants, right? So when a negative is associated with something like, let's say, meat, right? You got a cyber attack, there's a negative that's associated with it. When you think about eating meat, you're like, I don't know. Immediately what comes up in your mind when you hear it more and more is, maybe I shouldn't eat meat. Maybe, gosh, I don't know. Did something negative happen? What was that? Even though it's a cyber attack, you're turned off negatively to it. And it's conditioning us. It's getting us ready, conditioning us that gasoline, cyber attack on gasoline. Maybe there's some merit behind why that Colonial Pipeline or, whatever was attacked. And as it says in this article that I just showed you, this is simply trying to end meat production and fossil fuels. All of these cyber attacks, on and on, are trying to end and condition us to also go along with it to end what they don't like. The digital dollar is coming out in 2023. Yeah, well, I mean, really, Diana, yes, it is, but it's already here, right? Most of us, including myself, I don't carry cash around. I carry a credit card around with me, and that's how I buy everything, and it's amazing. And once we're on that system and there's nothing else to fall back on, what are you going to do when they cut off your bank account? What are they going to do? What are you going to do if the internet goes down? Wow, you'll have to look for assistance from a global network, perhaps, that's up and running. If they do away with natural meats, more people will die from lack of protein. It is hard to get the right kind of amount of protein from plants. Well, I mean, Bonnie, isn't that a good thing if you're on their side, right? Because that will be like, wow, we didn't even have to do more badges. We got this, and that's great. Unbelievable. And look at this. The New York City subway operator and Martha's Vineyard Ferry, they were the latest to report the cyber attack. Hold one second. Gracie, So there you go. Subway operator in the ferry. I mean, what's the message there? I don't know. Why don't you just stay at home and not go anywhere? Their intention, Bonnie said. Yeah, just stop going anywhere. Stop using fossil fuels. Stop taking trips. Unless you're going to go on a transportation system that we can take a lot of people on that system, there's no need for you to go one at a time or two at a time. So, I mean, everything, we're being conditioned about everything. Pretty soon, the fear base is going to be everything is bad. Just don't do anything at all. And if you haven't seen it, Project Veritas has a video, like a Zoom video with Mark, the Facebook guy, and their general counsel and a couple other people. You need to see, so go get the Project Veritas video and take a look at that. Sissy said, I pray no cyber attacks happen during the summer with the subway system. These poor people. Well, there you go. See, Sissy, you're already worried about the New York subway system. Think if you're in New York, you're going to think, maybe I shouldn't take the subway. Maybe I should just walk. James said portable ham radio. And so Sissy, it's already working. You're already thinking about, gosh, maybe I shouldn't take the subway because of cyber attacks. And that's exactly what you're being conditioned to do. The UFO are the hackers. Yeah. Did that report come out? I've read two different things about the report. One in the New York Times yesterday said that they're not saying that what happened in San Diego when they saw that object. They're saying, well, we're saying it's not a UFO, but we don't know what it is. So I don't know. There's a report that's supposed to come out, but I thought the report came out and said, kind of a mixed message. Bonnie said, fools think they are smarter than everyone else. James said the next wars aren't with bombs. There's no one left to bomb. This is next. Melanie said, reduce world population. So, let's see. On this one, I wanted to show you. This is just in time for the 2022 midterm elections. Facebook is going to end special treatment of politicians' posts after the Trump ban. So they're going to be banned any way they want. They're set to announce today that they will end its policy of not enforcing content moderation rules for posts by politicians. So that's all going to change. So you're going to see 2022, everybody getting censored. Nobody's going to be able to talk. We certainly can't have a turnaround in 2022 in the midterms because it's going so well for them already. I mean, my gosh, the economy is going down. Everything looks pretty bleak as far as prices on everything. So, I mean, this is like the best news that they could get in the world. So why are we going to allow the Republicans to come in and fix it, perhaps? Now, in other information that I have out here, Mike Pence says President Trump may never see eye to eye on January the 6th. And I think, Mr. Pence, that I don't think you and the rest of most of us will ever see eye to eye. Pence said, I don't know if we'll ever see eye to eye on that day, but I will always be proud of what we accomplished for the American people over the last years. I would say if I were Pence, I would just not have any political aspirations. That's all. Bottom line is be ready to meet your maker regardless of how things are going to come down, Sissy said. Absolutely. Pence is a traitor, Robin said. Now, right before we got like 1 minute, so I am going to get to this really quickly. Here's China's response to all that's going on, all that's being said about what happened over there or may not have happened over there in China. Here's what China says. This is from Newsweek, a left magazine, left-leaning, or as far left as you can go. China's state media says the country must prepare for nuclear war with the U.S. after the faux president asked for a virus probe. So the editor of the Chinese state-run newspaper, the Global Times, considers enhancing China's nuclear program as being vital to the country's strategic deterrence against the United States. The increasingly confrontational rhetoric and military maneuvers coming out of the two countries have raised concerns about a potential war. We must be prepared for an intense showdown between China and the U.S., he writes. The number of Chinese nuclear warheads must reach the quantity that makes U.S. elites shiver should they entertain the idea of engaging in a military confrontation with China. So this is from the China state media. Don't know if it's officially from China, but there you go. So that's kind of what at least he says. And typically they don't speak unless they're speaking for the government because they could pay for that. But that's what they have to say. So there you go. I guess they're looking to kind of gear up for anything possible to happen and to get ready for that. All right. We are in the book of Esther. So let's go there. We're almost finished with it. This is chapter 8. On that day, King Ahasuerus gave Queen Esther the house of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told how he was related to her. So the king took off his signet ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. And Esther appointed Mordecai over the house of Haman. Now Esther spoke again to the king, fell down at his feet, and implored him with tears to counteract the evil of Haman the Agagite and the scheme which he had devised against the Jews. And the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose, stood before the king, and said, if it pleases the king, and if I favor in his sight, and the thing seems right to the king, and that I am pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to revoke the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, which he wrote to annihilate the Jews who are in all of the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that will come to my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my countrymen? Then the king said to Queen Esther and Mordecai, indeed, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and they have hanged him on the gallows because he tried to lay his hand on the Jews. You yourselves write a decree concerning the Jews as you please in the king's name and the king's signet ring. For whatever is written in the king's sealed with the king's signet, no one can revoke. So the king's scribes were called at the time in the 3rd month, which is the month on the 23rd day. And it was written according to all the Mordecai commanded to the Jews, satraps, and the governors, the princes of the provinces from India to Ethiopia, 127 provinces is all, to every province in its own script, to every people in their own language, and to the Jews in their own script and language. And he wrote in the name of the king, sealed it with the king's signet ring, and sent letters by couriers on horseback riding on royal horses bred from swift steeds. By these letters, the king permitted the Jews who were in every city to gather together and protect their lives, to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the forces of any people or province that would assault them, both little children and women, and to plunder their possessions on one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. A copy of the document was to be issued as a decree in every province and published for all people, so that the Jews would be ready on that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. Couriers who rode on royal horses went out, hastened and pressed on by the king's command, and the decree was issued in Shushan, the citadel. So Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, with a great crown of gold and garment of linen and purple, and the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Jews had light and gladness, joy and honor. And in every province and city, wherever the king's command and decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a holiday. Then many of the people of the land became Jews, because fear of the Jews fell upon them. Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 13th day, the time came for the king's command and his decree to be executed. On the day that the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, the opposite occurred, in that the Jews themselves overpowered those who hated them. The Jews gathered together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king to lay hands on those who sought their harm. And no one could withstand them, because fear of them fell upon all people, and all the officials of the provinces, the satraps, the governors, and all those doing the king's work helped with the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's palace, and his fame spread throughout all the provinces, for his man Mordecai became increasingly prominent. Thus the Jews defeated all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, with slaughter and destruction, and did what they pleased with those who hated them. And in Shushan, the citadel, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men. Also, all these people, the 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, they killed, but they did not lay a hand on the plunder. On that day, the number of those who were killed in Shushan, the citadel, was brought to the king, and the king said to Queen Esther, the Jews have killed and destroyed 500 men in Shushan, the citadel, and the 10 sons of Haman. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now, what is your petition? It shall be granted to you. Or what is your further request? It shall be done. Then Esther said, if it pleases the king, let it be granted to the Jews who are in Shushan to do again tomorrow, according to today's decree, and let Haman's be hanged by the gallows. So the king commanded this to be done. The decree was issued in Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. And the Jews who were in Shushan gathered together again on the 14th day of the month of Adar and killed 300 men at Shushan. But they did not lay a hand on the plunder. The remainder of the Jews in the king's provinces gathered together, protected their lives, had rest from their enemies, and killed 75,000 of their enemies. They did not lay a hand on the plunder. That was on the 13th day of the month of Adar, and on the 14th of the month, they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews who were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day, as well as on the 14th, and on the 15th of the month, they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore, the villages who dwelt in the unwalled towns celebrated the 14th day of the month of Adar with gladness and feasting as a holiday, and for sending presents to one another. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters to all the Jews near and far who were in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus to establish among them that they should celebrate yearly the 14th days of the month of Adar as the days on which the Jews had rest from their enemies, as the month which was turned from sorrow to joy for them, and from mourning to a holiday, and that they should make them days of feasting and joy, of sending presents to one another and gifts to the poor. So the Jews accepted the custom which they had begun as Mordecai had written to them, because Haman the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, of all the Jews, had plotted against the Jews to annihilate them, and had cast pur, that is, the lot, to consume them and destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letter that this wicked plot which Haman had devised against the Jews should return on his own head, and that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows. So they called these days Purim, after the name. Therefore, because of all the words of this letter, what they had seen concerning this matter and what had happened to them, the Jews established and imposed it upon themselves and their descendants and all who would join them, that without fail they should celebrate these 2 days every year according to written instructions and according to this prescribed time, that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city, that those days of Purim should not fail to be observed among the Jews, and that the memory of them should not perish among their descendants. Then Queen Esther, the daughter of Abihail, with Mordecai the Jew, wrote the full authority to confirm this second letter about Purim. And Mordecai sent letters to all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim at their appointed time, as Mordecai the Jew and Queen Esther had prescribed for them, and as they had decreed for themselves and their descendants concerning matters of their fasting and lamenting. So the decree of Esther confirmed the matters of Purim, and it was written in the book. And King Ahasuerus imposed tribute on the land and islands of the sea. Now all the acts of his power and his might, and the account of the greatness of Mordecai, to which the king advanced him, they are not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Media and Persia. For Mordecai the Jew was second to King Ahasuerus, and was great among the Jews, and well received by the multitude of his brethren, seeking the good of his people, and speaking peace to all his countrymen. Wow. Very good. Mike is a GWB without an account. Huh. Who's Mike? I missed that one. All right. So anyway, we have finished the book of Esther. I guess you're talking about Mike. Oh, without an accent. Okay. All right. Let's see. Monique said, I've been living in the state and governed and now understand why so many people here did not support him when President Trump selected him. Wow. Yes. Wow. Amen, Susan. Yes, Monique. Absolutely. So So I'll decide by Monday, I guess, what what next chapter of the Bible we go into. If anybody has suggestions, let me hear some suggestions. Or I'll just go ahead and select it. Doesn't matter to me. Anything anybody else wants to talk about before we go? I just think that there's a lot happening, a lot going on. We really need to stay on solid ground and not be swayed by all the things that we're hearing. Came in late, caught Bible time. Hope everyone has rest this weekend. Sally says, Sally, you may want to hear the replay. The Book of Esther is one of my favorites. Also love the Book of Job. Monique said, yeah, that Job is next, so we might just go into that. Daniel or Isaiah. Yeah, we've read both of those. Don't think we went into Job. Yeah, I meant great weekend. Yeah, you wanted us to all get arrested this weekend. We saw that, Sally. We saw that. So, the Book of Job always gives me hope, Monique said. Cool. Jonah, Chesney said. All right. Well, everybody have a wonderful weekend. God bless you. Please go ahead, if you will, and retweet this. I will watch replay. Thanks, Sally. Maybe Sissy. All right. And let's see, fat thumb and autocorrect, Sally said. Oh, God bless everyone. All right, everybody. Thank you for sharing, and we'll see you again on Monday. I'm going to give you like a minute to say anything else that you want to people before we go out. Listen to bits and pieces, anything mentioned about Bibi no longer being prime minister. Kathy, we're still, he still is thinking that maybe he can turn it around, but I haven't heard anything saying he concretely is turning it around. So, all right, everybody, have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Love to all, Sissy said. Thanks.